learning programs for you all. Also, there is a big opportunity for you all to sponsor these webinar sessions. So we are coming up with the details to you. So almost 28 successful programs we have conducted with the 90% of participants feedback. So these are the technical skills through which we conduct the program. That is zero defect quality with traceability and advanced MSA, design development testing and simulation capabilities, low cost automation solution and robotics, digitization of manufacturing, tools for cost competitiveness and productivity and future mobility. The today's webinar is around this. Also, we conduct the program around soft skills, academia, gender awareness, and our cluster implement specific programs. So these are the webinars, upcoming webinars in this. So you can read the details on the webinar tab on myeinnovation.com. So thank you very much. Yeah. So now, thank you participants for being patient with us. Once again, I welcome you for this today's session. So now over to Ashwini. Before that, there are 4-5 participants who have raised the hand. So I'm assuming that this is you saying hello to us, and I'm lowering those hands. And during question and answer session, you can raise your hands if you have any questions, or you can write question in Q&A. So thank you very much, Ashwini. Over to you.
Thank you, Sapna. First of all, good afternoon to all of the participants, and we welcome to you all for this webinar. Exclusively, we are conducting with ECMA, the Center of Excellence, on the lithium-ion battery and the battery management system. So, just to start with, I think Sapna have already given a brief profile about me and the company. So basically, just to start with, we'll just resume with the company brief introduction and what will be the agenda of this webinar, what the topics we are going to cover, and what are things we are having the agenda, real agenda. So we will be discussing within this webinar. In between, we have some question and answer session within the PPT itself. Once any key module will get end, so that the PPT will reflect with the Q&A. So there people can raise your hands, and the host of this webinar may say picked up the question, and the respected expert will take the question and have will take it further. So I'll just give a moment. I'll just share my screen with the PPT, and then we'll start. I hope it is visible to all of you.
Yes, yes. Go ahead, Ashwin.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, like I said, the webinar topic, what we have chosen today for its electric vehicle at a glance to a major components, which this is a part of, you can consider this is the first part of our the webinar, where we are only considering the two major components of an electric vehicle we are talking, which is the lithium battery and the BMS systems. Okay, so so the outline of this whole webinar is going to be, we will just have a quick introduction about the what India, what does it, what we are doing in electric vehicle domain. Then will we have some overview on the recent lithium battery technology and its future trends. Then we have some market aspects and the key players which are working in the lithium-ion battery industry. Followed by, then we'll start the session with Mr. Sunil Trikha sir here, and he is the lithium battery expert. So he will be going more into the technical aspects, talking about different battery chemistries and materials, lithium battery types and forms. Then we'll be forward with the battery management system. Then will be the BMS communication, and then at the end we have some two more modules which will be discussing a brief on the lithium battery safety, test protocols, and the lithium battery assembly process. And then at the end we can have one question answer. In between, I told you we will be going to have some question answer module to module wise, so that we should have a better So basically, the Autobot India is the company who is working in electric vehicle domain. So we are one of the pioneer company working in training and development from 2017, and which we are offering a complete end-to-end solution to the industry and academia also into all the portfolios of electric vehicle technology, right from battery to the EV powertrain to charging and to the telematic. So we are giving different solutions where we are for the upskilling, reskilling the industry. Also, we also work into the project development and the consulting. And also recently we have entered into the R&D phase also, where we are working on some of the low voltage systems for the two-wheeler and three-wheeler applications. Okay. So these are the certain Autobot solutions, which two definitely sectors we are working, which is one is the enterprises and the institutions, where these are the three core verticals we are working. One is the consulting, the training and development, and the R&D, which from 2020 we have started working in the R&D domain, where we offering these solutions to the industry, working with some couple of the government bodies also for the skilling development programs, MSMEs and startups. University at the academia level, we are offering our lab exclusive. We are offering electric vehicle technology labs also. There we have the lab models for the universities and the colleges operating in the engineering domain. So basically, that is the whole idea, to provide a platform, a seamless platform where we can help the people who are looking forward to gain the knowledge in electric vehicle technology with all the practical and supports, and which is more related to the industry. So, yeah, so coming back to the presentation part, which the first topic which we are going to talk about on the overview on lithium battery technology, the future trends. So everybody knows nowadays, this has picked up from 2013 itself in India. We were talking about the electric vehicles, and from after 2017, we have seen a very rapid development. A lot of things are happening into the electric e-mobility domain, right from the infrastructure development to the different models. And also we got some improvements on the technologies upcoming, talking about all the components. But today we are going to more stick about the battery and the BMS aspect only. So in that segment, we have seen some technological improvement happened globally in the battery aspect. So I just put from 2018, what we are also observing the market closely. So we have seen the technology what being used in 2020 and we have shifted to 2003, and what is going to be future trend by 2028. So basically, if you see the market trend before 2018, basically we will be using for the different application, where the cathodes were made of the LFP and NMCs, okay, which is one of the famous the battery chemistry we have seen. But now we have slowly moved to, I think, 2019 onwards. The industry are now using the NMC chemistry or NCA chemistries. Currently, Mahindra, some of the four-wheeler industries, they are using with the chemistry with their NMC. But we are at the stage of the improvement in the R&D globally happening onto the better energy storage systems which have the larger energy densities and give the larger range. So basically, that is one of the challenge we are seeking, especially when it comes to the aspect of the Indian country. So this is now we have talk about the future trends in battery. The NMC is on. Then we are talking about the nickel aluminum air also. So Tesla is one of the company who is already having the R&D, some prototype model made on the aluminum air chemistry. Even there is a company called 9log Materials based out of Bangalore, the startup company. They are also working on completely the aluminum focused chemistry to make a aluminum economy to India, just because of the availability of the raw materials across the globe. So that is one of the scenario and the challenge also globally we have into the the import of the raw materials to make a cells for a battery pack. So these are the future concerns when we have the volumes of the vehicles running on the on-road, and when the demand will come. So from where we are going to have source these raw materials to make a battery packs. So definitely the governments and the several agencies, they are working to find an alternative solutions on the energy storage system. So automotive is one of the domain. There are several other applications where we are going to use this advanced technology, and definitely once the demand will happen. So due to this challenges of lithium ion chemistry, which is really rare earth material available to the few the countries, and so with the geopolitical issues, so definitely there are certain challenges for the government and the country. So all the even in the India, we are working on the alternate solution to bring this. But these are the something which definitely looking forward for this NMC and nickel air are going to be the future trends in e-mobility. So there are two factors what we have analyzed where if I talk about the specific to the lithium batteries, so where measure of the involvements, measure of the R&D is happening, which is one is the cell chemistries and second is the thermal management. So these are the two very key aspect areas where measure of the bigger industries, they are putting their R&D and lot of prototypes are being developed for the testing phases. So we are working on the right chemistries for the particular the product. And this varies as per my domain knowledge. This varies geographically with the temperature and all. So for Indian climate, if I ask, so definitely we are certainly looking for something very specific chemistry which can sustain in a higher temperature. Okay, as well as we can have the stability into the performance. So moving to the next PPT, which is the lithium-ion battery market, which was supposed to happen by 2019, if I take and by what is going to be the future of the lithium-ion battery, especially. So if you can see the figure on the slide, if I take the figures by 2019, the value of the lithium-ion battery market was $36.7 billion. And which was forecasted to have, I think this point got repeated. So basically, 2027, the market is getting projected to have $129.3 billion, which is having somewhere around 18% of the growth, the CAGR of 18% from 2020 to 2027. So this is a huge lump, and it shows a very positive direction, and is a huge growth area where definitely the demand of the lithium batteries are going to increase in coming time. So the largest market for lithium-ion batteries and will remain going to be the cars, basically, which are going to use the huge battery capacities from I think 2020 to 2030 almost. So these are some of the key players which are into the cell manufacturing and who are also the cell suppliers globally, which are some of the key which we already know about, the Panasonic, Toshiba, Samsung, SDI, LG, same, the BYD, CATL, ASES, AI123 systems. So these are the global manufacturers of the cells and the suppliers which are supplying the lithium batteries, and they have the control over the market. And so among the end user in the lithium-ion battery market, basically the industry, electronics and automotive, these are the sectors which we have seen, which is largely using the lithium-ion battery, where automotive is expected to keep growing in the forecast period. and the demand of eco-friendly electric vehicles will keep increasing in future, which is what we are seeing the future scenarios of the electric vehicles powered by the energy storage system. Either it could be a lithium battery or supercapacitors, or we are also the future technologies of the solid state, the batteries. So these are the something which we are talking. Also, if you go to the alternative fuels, which is in alternative situation, the supercapacitors are there. The fuel cells powered by hydrogens are there. So these are the alternative, the solutions which we see going to make the trends in coming future mobility. Where also the APEC market is expected to lead the global market throughout the forecast period, which owing to the increasing rate of urbanization, which is one of the most important factor, which we are getting urbanized, and there is a demand of a new kind of the mobility, which is zero emission, which is having the zero emission, that is fast, and that is also provide the futuristic features. So that is the one of the key demand which is coming with the urbanization for developing nations like Singapore, India, Indonesia. So additionally, supported by the government, we have certain, now we have FAME 1 and FAME 2 policies announced to support this electric vehicle and hybrid electric vehicle manufacturing. And the demand for consumer electronics and automotive vehicles expected to infuse the market growth tremendously in coming days. At the end, additionally, there are new investment for industry expansions. Massive infrastructure investments are already happening, making the ability of lithium as a metal, the countries such as China, Japan, and South Korea, completely fueling the growth for lithium-ion battery. So definitely, in a nutshell, if I were to say, the lithium-ion battery up to not less than that, but up to 2030, definitely they are going to play a very vital role in the mobility area and also in energy storage segment, right? So now I will just call upon Mr. Trikha to talk further on the lithium-ion battery chemistries, their technologies, how these components are having different shapes and dimensions, and there are different applications, which we are definitely going to have more learning on the chemistry and their communication level. So I'll just pass on to Trikha sir. Yeah.
Thank you, Ashwini. Good afternoon, everyone. Please.
Good afternoon, sir.
I'm just giving an introduction to lithium-ion technology. Try to cover most of the things a little fast, but I will try to touch everything possibly. The first thing is the lithium metal itself is most promising material for a battery. This has been recognized for a long time, and primary lithium batteries were available right from 1960s. There was, if you see the position of lithium metal in periodic table, this is the lightest metal with atomic number only 3. And you compare the theoretical capacity of lithium against lead, you can see lithium is more than 10 times more energy per gram. So it automatically is the best choice as an electrochemical couple for a battery. Similarly, you can add further, Ashwini. Yeah, you see the electrochemical potential. The lithium potential is very high. It is more than 3 volt, whereas lead is 0.1, zinc is 0.7, cadmium is 0.4. So you have both advantages. You have very high ampere hour per gram, and you have very high voltage. So it makes it the best candidate to be a electrode for any battery. So as I told, lithium primary battery was available right from 1960s, but making it a rechargeable battery was a challenge. There was a difficulty when you use lithium metal, you charge the lithium metal, move to the from anode to the cathode, and when it come back, it was not coming in the same shape. it was giving a lot of problems. Presence of lithium in cell was not making very safe product. So there were certain limitations. Scientists were working to improve it, and some 25 years back, they came out with good solutions. Next, please. Yeah. Complete the slide. Yes. I'm just giving a chemical reaction. In a today's rechargeable, the secondary lithium-ion batteries, we don't use lithium metal as such. We use lithium compounds. These are called layered materials like lithium cobalt oxide, lithium iron phosphate, lithium manganese dioxide. These are the various layered compounds of lithium with different metal oxides. On anode side, normally it's carbon graphite, which is used as anode. So you see in the battery, there is no lithium metal used. Okay, when you charge lithium cobalt oxide, it liberates lithium ions. And then when you discharge, it again becomes lithium cobalt oxide. On anode, it goes from carbon combines with lithium ions and make lithium C6, LiC6. So in the total process, there is no lithium metal. So there is no danger of lithium. These are layered material, intercalating materials. So here lithium is not making a compound like lead sulfate. The lithium is loosely held in the compound between two layers of metal oxides. So the main advantage is there is no lithium metal in the reaction, is only lithium ions which are present. Number two, there is no reaction of electrolyte materials. So electrolyte only provide carrier for lithium ions. And other advantage is because of these layered materials, the intercalating materials, when you charge and discharge, there is no change in physical property of those electrodes. The density remain the same, the crystal structure remain the same. So when you number of time charge and discharge, there is no change in the density of material, no change in the physical structure of the material. So material remains stable over a very long life. So that is the one reason why lithium battery has extraordinary cycle life. Yeah, next, please. These are the different cathode materials used. The basic materials which were the most commonly used material was lithium cobalt oxide. Then they tried lithium nickel oxide. Lithium nickel oxide has advantage, it has much more energy, but is not as safe as lithium cobalt oxide. The other material which was quite promising was the lithium manganese dioxide. Advantage of this is a very cheap material. It's a very safe material, but the problem is it doesn't have a good cycle life. So life fades with time. So nowadays, people are not using pure materials. They are using mixtures of these. So they have combined some advantages of this material and some of these compensate the disadvantages of other. So next slide, please. Yeah. So now most of the commercially available lithium-ion batteries actually made, these are called NMC. NMC means it contains nickel, it also contains manganese, and also contain cobalt. So there are different grades of these materials. Earlier, the most commonly used material was NMC 333, where all the cobalt, nickel, and manganese were in the same ratio, equal ratio. But with time, they found cobalt is very costly, which was making battery very costly. And whereas nickel has a better energy. So there was always the effort to make more nickel and less cobalt. So now there are various NMC 532, NMC 811, where you have more nickel, very less cobalt, so it makes it cheaper, more energy density. And they find some other method. The disadvantage of nickel, how to counter. They use many other techniques to suppress those bad effects of disadvantage of nickel has been compensated by other design parameters. Then another candidate is NCA. Here manganese is replaced by aluminium. So it is a nickel, cobalt and aluminium. It is again a layered material. So it is a cheaper material, less cobalt is there. It has a high rate discharge capability, and safety is moderate. Is something between NMC 333 and NMC 811. Yeah, please next. The other material which was important material, which is very common nowadays, particularly coming from China, is LFP. This is lithium iron phosphate. The advantage is iron as phosphate are not very rare materials. These are available quite economically. So it makes battery quite economically, and it is much safer material. The only disadvantage is not the voltage is less. The NMC and NCS cell, the voltage of cell is 3.6 volt, whereas LFP cells, the voltage is normally 3.2 volt. And other disadvantage is this material is bulky. So the one is you have less voltage, you need more number of cells for the same system, same voltage system. And secondly, the energy density is not as good as NCA or NCM. So batteries are bulky, bigger in size. So in a given space, you cannot have the same energy. So for a very advanced batteries for hybrid electric vehicles, so you need very, very compact, you have very limited space for the battery. So there LFP has its own limitations. Yeah, please, next. I was discussing about cathode materials. Now I'm coming to the anode side. The most common material for cathode side is the graphite, most commonly used material. Most of the cell, maybe 90%, more than 90% cells available in market has graphite as anode. So energy density is quite good, 372. It has a flat discharge. You can have a good rapid charging capabilities. It has a little problem with PC. PC is a one constituent of electrolyte, solvent of electrolyte. So that was giving forming gases in battery. So graphite, they have been many modification done to the graphite. Earlier they were using natural graphite. Now they have modified graphite where the graphite is partially burnt and coated with some other nano and other materials to see that it doesn't have active sites for reacting with electrolyte. So there are today most of the cell has a modified natural graphites, which is a technically good as well as a good commercial solution. Yeah, please. Apart from natural graphites and modified graphites, there are synthetic graphites like MCMB, mesocarbon microbeads. These are made from petroleum products at a very, very high temperature. So these are very, very costly, mostly used in very advanced battery systems. Or many times they use they are mixing with natural or modified natural graphite to improve performance. Similarly, carbon nanotubes and graphene are also graphites, which has a much better capacities and much better lives and much better conductivity particularly. So these are not used as purely as anode material, but these are mixed with the other graphites to improve performance of battery. Yeah, please next. Yeah, there is another material which is very important is the lithium titanate. Lithium titanate can replace graphite, but the problem is this has a high voltage, and when you make a battery with any of the NMC or NCA, the battery voltage is only 2.5 against 3.6 for NMC. So this is one advantage. The voltage of cell is low with the lithium titanate. So you need much more number of cells, almost 50% more cells to have the voltage. That is one. But the other side, the advantages are you can charge very rapidly. You can charge within 10 minutes, 15 minutes a battery. If you're looking for that kind of fast charging capability, then you have to go for lithium titanate. Other advantage is the life is extremely high. You can get 5-6 times more life than other kind of lithium-ion cells. So cost is high because you need more cells. But if you need a battery for a very special purpose, the solution is lithium titanate. Silicon is other one material which can give a very extraordinary high energy density. It can 5 silicon take 22 lithium, and you need a very small in order to have same capacity as the graphite. You can make very compact cell. So, but the problem is one, you charge the silicon, the volume increase is very high, and the stability of structure is not there. So many efforts are made to mix some other material in silicon to improve the stability of silicon. Some success is there. Silicon is going to be a future material. Today it is not commercially used in batteries, but is definitely a very good candidate as a node in coming years. Please. Yeah, please. Yeah, anything till now?
Yeah, there are two hands raised, Trika sir. So we will like to take question from Mr. Sandeep Handa ji. Mr. Sandeep Handa, please unmute yourself and you can talk.
Okay, 1 second. Yeah, I'll unmute myself.
Yeah, we can hear you. Hello, Sandeep ji, you muted yourself.
Is it okay now?
Yes, please go ahead.
See, sir has explained a lot of transformations and technology, and he's put in questions also. Currently, in the present requirement, what will he suggest us to go for the chemistry in the batteries? What will be his best take that he'll suggest us to work on? Hello?
Yes, I understand. I will say for coming years, for at least for other 3-4 years or 5 years, with the technology which is going to be used commercially, which is going to be used on a larger scale, is going to be NMC, NCA, LFP, and graphite mixed with nanotubes.
Okay, can I add one more thing? I would like to understand.
I will one more thing I will add.
Okay.
Though you go tomorrow, if you change from these materials to other material, you need not change your manufacturing facilities. On the same manufacturing facilities, you will be able to produce any of these cells. Okay. So you can start today with LFP, depending what kind of market you are looking. If you're looking 3-wheelers, you go for LFP. If you're looking 4-wheelers, cars, hybrid cars, go for NCA, NCM. Use for graphite side is all mixing different materials. So use modified graphites mixed with some nanoparticles or some other MCMCB. You can go with those things. But tomorrow, if you have to go for silicon or you have to go for some other materials, you need not worry. Your same manufacturing facility will be able to do. Only you will be changing some of your formulation.
Thank you. And one more thing. See,
Yep.
we now for next 2-3 years, bi-wheelers, auto, and the buses are going to be in the basic requirement need.
That's right. Right.
So for buses, what would be the best option?
Buses, it all mostly it's going to be LFP.
Okay. So you mean bi-wheeler also?
It all depends. It all depends, because if you go with some Chinese, every technology has some background. The bus technology, bus basic design coming from China, or bus design coming from America or Japan. If it's coming from Japan, Korea, America, they will prefer NCM, NCA. If these basic bus is coming from based on Chinese design, they will go for LFP. So it all depends. LFP is a simpler technology, a reliable technology, but is a bulky. You want very, very smart product, you have to go for an NCA, but you need a very high level of battery management systems. You need a much better thermal management if you go for NCA or NCM. But
Thank
you
you,
can live with a simpler thermal management with the LFP. So it all depends. You're making a very complex product. A bus is a very highly technical product, is a simple product. Simple product, LFP, complex product, NCA, NCM.
So that means, so what you are suggesting is the technology of the vehicle will also be input for the battery to be used.
That's right. That's right. If you have a very good thermal management in buses, you have cooling system in bus, because
Yes,
it's
sir.
not only battery. You have to depend on and what is the communication with your charging system? What is the level of communication with your motor controller? All those things.
Okay.
So based on that you can decide. And the weight of a battery is not a very big consideration. Go for LFP, the simple solution.
Right. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Sandeep ji. We will take, sir, one more question from Mr. Tapan Kumar Giri. So, Mr. Tapan, yeah, you can talk. Yes. Mr. Giri, you can talk. You have to unmute yourself and you can talk. He's not able to do that. Okay, there are many questions written in question answer window. Mr. Sunil, sir, you would like to take any question from question answer window?
I can't see you. If somebody can speak out, I will answer.
Okay, there is a question asked by Shantanu Shitore. How can we recycling lithium-ion battery?
Let me see. Okay. Yeah, recycling is a chemical process, and it is a technology by itself. People who are chemists, who knows chemistry of cobalt, people who know chemistry of nickel, people who know the extraction of lithium material. Most difficult material to extract is lithium. So there are many methods. They are going purely chemical method. There are metallurgical methods. You melt everything, then somewhere you can sublimate. Sometimes you can distill differential distillation, then refining chemically. So these are technology by itself. Different people has different technology. Some people don't recover everything. There's a cheaper way. You leave lithium unrecovered. But in India, it's more important because we don't have these metals. We don't have lithium. So it is more important in India to recover each and every gram of material available in a cell. So there is no standard procedure. These, I will say there are only maybe 10, 12 technologies available in world. Most of those are closely held secret. So people is not something great. People in Indian engineers and scientists can definitely devise some method to extract metals. We have great metallurgical and chemical industry in India. Though people want to see there is a money available from recovery, they will definitely jump into this with time.
Okay, thank you, sir. There are many questions we will take at the end of the session, I think so.
Okay, fine.
Please continue.
Fine. Yeah. We will sell forward, okay, because we have some major slides left. So we will take the session, questions in.
Yeah.
Yeah, please, can we move next?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, electrolyte is basically a lithium compound. Mostly it is a LiPe6. This is a solid which is dissolved. We cannot use water because lithium simply react with water. So it is this lithium LiPe6 is dissolved in carbonate esters, which is EC, ethylene carbonate, propylene carbonate, dimethyl carbonate, different kind of these are the solvents which can dissolve LiPe6, LiBF4, and the solution is between 0.8 to 1.2 molar solution. Yeah, please, next. Yeah. So far we were learning different chemicals going into the batteries, anode material, cathode material, electrolyte. Now I'm telling how these are, how the cell looks like, how these are packed. These materials are how these materials are packed into a cell. So basically, there are two types of lithium rechargeable cell. So far, we were discussing on lithium-ion cells. Lithium-ion cells, I told you, is a technology where we don't use lithium metal. We use only compound of lithium. Okay, lithium cobalt oxide, we use lithium magnetite dioxide, we use lithium iron phosphate. So we are not using lithium as metal. As I told you, there is a difficulty when you charge and discharge. Lithium does not come back to the same shape, same place. So there was, but the ultimate advantage of lithium comes when we use lithium metal as such. So there is another product which is a future product and which is slowly coming into market. This is called lithium metal polymer, LMP. LMP, they also call ceramic cells. These are coming with different names. These are not, you don't get them in market. These are produced on R&D scale. So here they are using either pure lithium metal as anode. They are using alloy of lithium. But here you cannot use a liquid electrolyte. If you are using pure lithium metal, then you cannot use a solvent-based, a liquid electrolyte. You have to use solid electrolyte. So this is a totally different technology. So I am just giving you idea sake. This is going to be a future product. With this, you will have extraordinary life and you will have extraordinary high energy density. But these products are still on a research tables. So it will take on a pilot scale production. So it will, to become a commercially success, it will take maybe a few more years. Okay. And now I'm just speaking about lithium-ion cells, about which we have been discussing earlier. So you can get these cells in three shapes. You can get them in cylindrical shapes, which is most commonly used. Cylindrical shape, which is Maximum used is called 18615. It is 18 millimeter dia and 65 millimeter length. You can get it in any chemistry, NCN, LFP. LFP cells are around 1.5 ampere hour or 1500 milliH, and NMC, NCA cells are 2 ampere hour to 3 ampere hour. Today, they are moving from 18650 to 21700, which is a slightly bigger dia, 21 dia, and 70 millimeter length. So capacity will go up to 4.5 ampere hour, mainly NCA used for electric vehicles. Tesla is standardizing on this. Then in LFP, they are using bigger cells, 24,650 and 32,650, and capacity is up to 6 ampere hour. Then you have prismatic cells. The prismatic is a rectangular shaped cells. Most commonly used prismatic cells are small prismatic cells used in your mobile phones. Then there are middle-size prismatic cells and very, very large prismatic cells which are used in electric vehicles or energy storage systems. You have cells from 10 ampere hour up to, in LFP, they produce very, very large cells, even up to 500 ampere hour. Then you have soft pack, which is called lipo cells, lithium-ion polymer cells. These are the pouch cells like your Pan Prag pouch. So you have a flexible pouches. You have small, these NMC small pouches comes even for your mobile phones, the smart mobile phones where you cannot change, these are not replaceable batteries. Okay, the Apple mobile phone, these kind of mobile phone now use polymers. These are flexible. You can make very, very thin because you are not using any metallic, thick metallic cover over this. Even on you can using on your some other smart devices where the battery need a curvature, so you can give any shape to those cells. So these are the polymer cells, and these are also available in big capacity up to 7,500 ampere hour also for industrial applications. Yeah, please next. Yeah, I'm just telling about, sometimes you buy a cell, you will see some nomenclature on that. I'm just giving an idea about that. I stand for lithium ion. F is for iron phosphate. Middle M is for if it's a manganese based or it is a high manganese content in that. Then you have ICR, means it has a high cobalt content. N means it has a high nickel. R last means is a round cell, is a cylindrical cell. If your polymer or prismatic, it will be ending up with IFP, IMP, ICP, or INS. Okay. Now, again, apart from this, you can get cells in different, for same electrochemistry, same shape, you still get variation among cells. That is based on whether the cell is designed for high energy requirement or it is designed for a very high power requirement. When you go for a high energy, the consideration you are not looking for a very high currents drains from the battery, or you're not looking very high rate charging it there. And when you're going for power, it means you are concerned with you will be drawing very high current for a short duration. So there is a design difference. When you go for high power, you have to make very thin electrode. Okay. So normally the normal discharge cells are called energy cells. These can be discharged up to 1C rate. 1C means a 100 AI cell can be maximum discharged at 100 amps. Power cells, these are slightly, you can give some high rate currents to them. These are power cells come with 5C to 8C means a 100 AI cell, you can even discharge at 500 amps for short duration. Then you have ultra high power cells. These are used for, say, application like drones, or you can using for starting application of engine. or you're using for some hybrid vehicle where you are having during your regenerating braking, you are charging at a extraordinary high rate currents. So you can charge 100 amp cells, you can discharge 100 amps cells up to 1200 amps. So these are up to 12 C rate. So, but you see, back, just for back. When you go from energy, last slide. When you go from energy to power, you are losing energy density. You're using thin electrodes, so these are not very compact. You lose compactness. Energy cells are very compact. Power cells are not that compact. For the 100A cell, the energy cell may be 20-30% bigger in size and bigger in weight, more in weight. The internal resistance is very low for power cell, and internal resistance is low in case of energy cell. Yeah, next please. I'm just giving a little idea how to charge a lithium-ion battery. Lithium-ion battery, the one thing which we must keep in mind, we cannot overcharge a lithium-ion cells or battery. There is no tolerance even for a 0.1% overcharging. So battery must be stopped by the time it approaches 100%. We are not reaching 100%. It's very difficult to know when 100% has come. So we must stop it little before 100% capacity is achieved, because even a small overcharging will be making a permanent dent on the battery. So how it is done, how is it achieved? So these batteries are charged in 2 stages. First stage is constant current charging. So battery charge at a C/5 or 1 C rate. Means a 100Ah battery can be charged at 20 amp to 100 amp up to a certain voltage, which is for threshold voltage, which is for NMC or NCA is 4.2 volt. So up to 4.2 volt, we give constant current charging. After reaching 4.2, it is changed to constant potential voltage. The voltage is maintained 4.2 volt. Okay, and when you float, the current will start coming down. Now the differential between the charging voltage and the battery EMF is very less. So now slowly current will start going down. And these batteries are not floated. We is not kept on float for all the time to come, not for days together. So there is another voltage. There is a current. So once current come to C/40. C/40 means that 100Ah battery, when current comes to around 2 to 3 amps, the charging is terminated. Okay. Similarly, for LFP battery, this constant potential voltage, the threshold voltage is 3.65. For NCM, NCA, it is 4.2 volt. For LFP, it is 3.65. Please. Next. Yeah, it's the same I just explained. So one is voltage come down, one is come to 0.03 C to 0.05 C. Current is very low, so we stopped at that stage. We don't continue charging after that. Please. This is a little idea about how the discharging of a battery happens. The voltage gradually decreases in earlier stages. By the time you discharge almost 90% of the battery, the voltage start decreasing at a very, very fast rate. And mostly at around 3 volt, you have almost consumed all the energy from the battery. And normally LCO, lithium cobalt oxide, we terminated 3 volt. NCM, NCA can be terminated anything between 2.5 to 2.75. And LFP, you can terminate between as low as 2 volt to 2.5 volt. But it doesn't make much difference because between 2.5 volt to 2.0 volt, hardly 1%, 1.5% energy is left in the battery. Please. Yeah, this is another important thing is the self-discharge of a battery. Self-discharge of battery means when you're keeping a charged battery, you're not using it, you are not charging it, it's just left on rest for a long period. Or with time, there will be some loss of the capacity, which is called self-discharge, which is mainly because of some internal chemical reactions. If you compare with all other batteries, the lithium-ion battery has the least self-discharge, but it's still there. Okay. And second important thing is the self-discharge also depends on the temperature. If temperature is high, you have very high self-discharge. If temperature is low, you have hardly any self-discharge. Please, next. Yes. Yeah, this is an important thing which one should know about lithium-ion battery. Normally is not very well known, this phenomena, but it's better to understand because many things, how the batteries are used or stored depends upon this phenomena. As I told you, when you keep a battery on storage for a long time, there is a self-discharge. And the self-discharge is quite high when your temperature is high. When we recharge battery, okay, self-discharge means your loss is there, you recharge, you get back to the capacity. Most of the battery self-discharge means it is a recoverable loss. Okay, on the rest, something is lost, you charge it, you get the capacity back. But in case of lithium, it doesn't happen so. If you keep a battery on for few months, there will be, say, there is a self-discharge of 5%. Now you charge and discharge, you won't be able to reach 100 Ah again. There will be some 1.5% loss, which is a permanent loss. Okay. So this permanent loss is affecting the life of a battery over a period. Okay. So most important thing here is this reversible loss, reversible loss depends upon two things. One is the temperature. If temperature is high, the reversible loss is high. Secondly, what is the state of charge? If a battery was fully charged, is 100% charged, and you store it for a long time, the reversible loss will be high. But if you discharge battery to 50% and store it for a long period, this reversible loss will be negligible. So this is an important factor one must keep in mind. Whenever we are storing a battery or whenever we are transporting a battery, we are always discharging to 50% and then transporting. Even kept in factory, batteries unused, it is always brought to a 50% state of charge and kept. So this is important thing. One must understand why batteries after use or after testing. Even you test a battery, after testing, when you get a battery, you will be getting between 40 to 60% state of charge. After you test the capacity, you are required to recharge to 50% and then keep. And secondly, you must store between 20 to 40 degrees centigrade. Don't store at a high temperature because you will be losing some of the capacity permanently. Next, please. Yeah, this is the cycle life of battery. Every time you use battery, there will be some losses in the capacity loss in the battery. Battery life, when we say battery life is 2000, 3000 cycles, it means after 3000 cycles doesn't mean you will be still having 100% capacity. The definition say you should be able to get at least 70% of the original capacity. The NMC battery, if you charge and discharge 100%, the life is between 500 to 800 cycles. But if you control state of charge, you charge and discharge, you don't fully charge, don't fully discharge, you can achieve even 2,500 cycles from the same cell. LFP cells at a fully charged deep and fully charging and discharging has a better cycle life. You can get something like a 1,500 to 2,000 cycles. This is for a comparison. Most important is by controlling state of charge, your depth of discharge and state of charge, you can enhance cycle life of battery number 3 to 4 times. Yep. Next, please. Yeah. We have to keep in mind these batteries. As I told you, you cannot overcharge battery. Lithium-ion battery. Similarly, you cannot deep discharge battery. There are permanent damage to the battery. These batteries are sensitive to overcharging, sensitive to over discharging, overheating. If you're charging or discharging at a very high current, you short circuit lithium-ion cells. You charge at a very low temperature. Low temperature means less than 0 degrees centigrade. If battery by accident has been deep discharged and you start charging at a high current, or you mechanically hit it, these are the things which can damage a battery, or these can also be a safety hazard. So these battery must be protected against this. So these are the BMS and electronic is a must in lithium-ion battery to prevent damages because of any of these adversaries. Please. Next, please. Yeah, we can stop here.
Yeah.
For any
so
doubt.
We'll stop and take 1 or 2 questions. So there is a hand raised by Ankit Sharma. So we will take question from him. So Ankit ji. Mr. Ankit.
Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, good evening to all of you. My question is that the most widely used battery is lithium-ion, as sir told us. So could you please tell us that if this battery is used in the electric vehicle, then on what parameters it is designed, or on what parameter it is being said that how much vehicle will travel in form of distance, like the kind of cells or the kind of material which will be used in the batteries, or the amount of voltage which will be used in the batteries. So on what parameter it is said that this battery can take the car to that much distance?
Yeah, there are two things. One is what is the voltage? What is the voltage your motor can take?
Okay.
More than motor, what is the input voltage acceptable to your motor controller?
Okay.
That will decide the battery voltage.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so that is the voltage. Second is it is theoretically very difficult to correlate motor wattage and the battery capacity is very difficult because you don't know at what efficiency motor is running. Sometime
Okay.
it will be running at a very high. So these are mostly based on some of the experience of some earlier application. There are certain the vehicle buses, various buses battery used there. So that will
Okay.
give you a thumb rule. You can have some idea, and ultimately you have to take some battery, a smaller battery, run it, see how much current, and check how much current it is drawing. The voltage has to be correct. You cannot do any trial. So that depending upon your charge controller input acceptable voltage, you have to select the battery voltage. But use some battery, a much smaller battery, run it, see how much current is drawing in different conditions while accelerating, while climbing up, all those things, and then what is your standard route and how many kilometers you work based on some experimental data. You have to work out the actual capacity.
All right. And one more question, sir. Can in the future we can replace lithium-ion with the hydrogen fuel cells?
You can even today do that hydrogen fuel cells, because battery is a simpler. You have cells and you don't have many electrical or mechanical components there.
Okay.
You have BMS, which is a small circuit. But if you go for fuel cells, you have to control many things. It becomes a small factory.
Okay.
So if you can make a miniature system, and that will also require a lot of controls, flow rate controls, all those things. So I think in fuel cells, it is those controls and pumping system, all those things, flow rate, all those things, which are more complex. So maybe if there is some advancement in that, maybe fuel cell will be much more. But fuel cell, again, you need something to, you need energy, you need something to feed.
All right.
Battery, you can use electricity to recharge, but there you have to feed, you need chlorine, you need hydrogen, you need something to feed. You have to bring hydrogen. You need storage for hydrogen. So these are the plus minus cost and all other factors.
Okay, and the kind of electric vehicle charging points which we install on the roads, does it depend on the kind of batteries which we have installed on the car, or it's just standard?
There lot of standardization being done at the moment, so that there will be lot of flexibility to charge a wide range of vehicles with that. That is another project where government and the agencies are working.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Ankit. So Ashwini, what do you think? We should go ahead, or we can take a few questions?
We'll go ahead because we are having a very good time.
Yeah, we have to hard stop another 10 minutes. By 4:30, we have to close the program. So I think so we can go ahead and then we will take people.
Yeah. I just request sir to just be on that, and we'll take the things at the very end.
Yeah, thank you.
The topics we need to discuss.
Yeah, as I told you, need a lot of protections. So there are electronic component which is called BMS, battery management systems, or simpler version is called PCM, protection circuit modules. So these are the devices. You must listen carefully. The important thing in BMS and PCM is we are not monitoring battery. We are monitoring each and every cell. Okay, this is the most important thing. So we are not monitoring overall battery. We are monitoring each and every cell. Not even a single cell should exceed its fully charged condition. Not even a single cell should go deep to the deep discharge condition. So we monitor voltage of each and every cell in a battery on a continuous basis, real-time basis. And then we set parameters, what is the upper limit for overcharging, what is the voltage limit for deep discharging. And when those conditions come, it stops the total battery. It doesn't stop single cell. It stops, cut off the total battery. Okay, from charging, if it's getting overcharged, from discharging, when its battery voltage is getting lower cutoff voltage is coming. Similarly, it also monitors current at one point. Current is a common for everything. So it monitors the charging current, it monitors the load current. If any current is going exceeding the standard limit, it cuts off there. It monitors at least not each cell. There are temperature sensor placed at most critical places. The cell which is in the core where the temperature can go the maximum, those sensors are placed designed such a way that we monitor the worst condition, and temperature of exceeding the temperature limit. So it cuts off charging or discharging at that stage. So these are the various control done by BMS or PCM. Apart from that, there is another requirement is cell balancing. Okay, with time, their cells won't have the same capacity. The cell won't be in the same state of charge because there will be a different self-discharge among the cells. Over say 6-8 months, after 6-8 months, some cell may have 3% self-discharge, some other cell may have only 1% self-discharge. These can come because of the cell's internal construction. This can come because of a little variation among cells in a battery. So there will be some mismatching because of the capacity. There will be some permanent losses in capacity. So there will be different imbalance among cells in terms of capacity itself or in their state of charge, depending on how much self-discharge or inefficiency, charging efficiency variation is there among cells. So that is also a job of BMS to correct that. So time to time, it bring every cell to the same state of charge. Okay. Then there are other functions of BMS. It can communicate with your charging circuit. It can communicate with your charge controller. It can tell you what is the state of charge, how many kilometer more battery can work. So these are the information which can come from BMS. Now I'm just giving little idea about there are yeah, okay, I will just cover the balancing itself can be done by two methods. One is called passive balancing. Passive balancing is when battery is fully charged, after battery is fully charged, it just monitor each and every cell voltage, and wherever voltage is high than a threshold, it discharges them and bring to a lower value. It bring it to threshold value. So that all the cells are at the same level. This occurs only by discharging through resistor one by one the cells, and it happens only when battery is charged, is rather when battery is fully charged. There is active balancing. Active balancing keep happening every time. The cells relative, it monitor relative variation among the cells, cell voltages, and keep correcting time to time. And again, there are methods, there are DC-DC converter circuits on each cell. So the cell with high voltage can pump energy to the cell with low voltage. Since you need quite a big gradient, so first there is a DC-DC converter. It just select the highest voltage cell, then boost the voltage, and then to something around 4.55 volt, and then charge the low voltage cell till both cells come to the same voltage. And this is a continuous process. This is called active cell balancing. Yeah, going back. No, before that. Okay. Okay. Next. Yeah. Maybe we can just touch this. Yeah, there are three types of people who are more interested in BMS. There are three topologies of BMS. One is centralized, because we have to monitor each and every cell voltage. And again, the cell balancing has to be done at each cell level. So there are wires coming from, two wires coming from each cell, coming to the centralized BMS circuit. So it will monitor each and cell voltage, and then it will be through the same wires, it will be balancing the cells, either discharging, or it is if it is active balancing, it will be charging those cells one by one. So all wires from each cell is coming to a centralized circuit. Then you have distributed BMS. In distributed BMS, you have one circuit on each and every cell. So this circuit does two things. One is it converts the voltage of cells into into a digital signal, and send this signal to a centralized supervisory module. And same time, this circuit is also responsible for cell balancing. Okay, so now wires are not coming from each and every cell. Okay, so the digital signal is passed to the next cell, and then at the end, only two wires are coming to the central supervisory controller. And if it's a battery, is a big battery spread over a wide area, so you need not handle too many wires. That becomes simple here. But the control the decision making and controlling, stopping charging, stopping discharging is done at supervisory level. Cell level BMS is only doing voltage sensing and transmitting data, as well as cell balancing activity. Modular is in between. There you have 4 or 5 cells. You have a number of centralized smaller unit. Say if you have 100 cells, you can have 20 module, and then one centralized where data of 5 BMS is coming to one centralized place. Yeah, please. Since BMS has digital data of individual cell voltage, it has a data of current, it has a data of temperature. So all critical parameters it is monitoring. Now it can make decision based on that, and that data can be converted and it can be used for various purposes through communication channels. So this you can have sometime you are not you want to decrease the current of motor, so you can communicate with the motor controller. Instead of stopping it, you can decrease the load on the motor. The charging, if you find charging current is high, or you have to decrease charging current, it can communicate with the charger. It can communicate with charger and tell what is the state of charge, how much more charging is required. It can tell to the charger how many, if it is a common, it is a public charger, it can also communicate and tell whether it is a 48-volt battery, it is made of 17 cells or 16 cells in series, what kind of cells are there. It can communicate all those data to charger. It can also display how much battery capacity is left, how many more kilometers it can run. Then if you have a cooling system, thermal management, you have cooling system, or you have heating system, it can communicate and tell when this should be on, when it should be stopped. So these are the various options available for communicating with the various devices of a EV as well as battery itself.
Yeah, Sunil sir, I think so. We can stop here now, and we can continue in our coming sessions in month of May.
Okay.
So can we take one or two questions from the participants, please. And then we can close because we have a hard stop. Next webinar is going to start.
Okay.
Yeah. So there is a hand raised by Mr. Pankaj Marathe. So we like to take question from you, Mr. Pankaj ji. You can talk. Yes.
Hello.
Yeah, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. This is the thorough information which we would like to get to know regarding the composition of the battery. What are the different composition and all these things. I'm more related to the thermal management system. I have raised the question earlier before the thermal management system, what you have defined now. The thing is, there are different composition of battery cells and battery chemical composition. So
I will give you little information on thermal management.
Yes.
There are two things in thermal management. Okay. One is we cannot go beyond a certain temperature, particularly charging at temperature beyond 45 is not permitted. Okay. Similarly, discharging beyond a temperature of 50 degrees is not acceptable. Okay. Apart from this, you should not charge a battery when temperature is below 0 degrees centigrade. Okay. Apart from this, other important thing in thermal management that there shouldn't be big variation among the cells. inside a battery.
Exactly.
Yeah. Any other questions we should take?
Hello, is okay?
Yeah.
That would be fine. My question was actually the different composition of the chemical, different chemical composition.
Okay.
Will it impact on the thermal management system inside to the battery itself?
Yes. As I told you, LFP is less sensitive to temperature as compared to NMC and NCA. So the requirement of thermal management in case of LFP is simpler.
Mm-hmm.
Is it your question?
Yes. Simple means it requires the simpler thermal management system, or it requires a less thermal management system or the cooling system per se, and compared to the LFP, other battery chemical combustion requires more attention for the thermal management.
You need for LFP also. You cannot ignore it. Okay.
Yeah.
But you need not be that sensitive.
Exactly.
You have 5-6 degree more tolerance on LFP.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So looking to the Indian climate condition, I hope heating is not required, but cooling is must for the thermal management of the battery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
thank you. Pankaj, thank you for your question. So I think so it's now 4:40. We have crossed already the 40 minutes more than the scheduled time. So once again, I thank you very much all the participants for showing your keen interest, and we will be taking all your questions in the next coming session in the month of May. We are sending the circular to you all. You will get it and you can register yourself. We are going to continue the same session and some more Ashwini, some more things we can add that, and we are going to answer your all questions. So Dinesh, you want to say something?
Yeah. So what I am saying is that we can have a part 2 of the program where we can have the remaining portions.
Yes.
And if anybody want to add any specific topic for discussion, they can send us a mail. And we can ask the faculty to include that, or we can from the ACMA side also we can contribute about the need of the training or any other topic. So that was from my side. So from my side, Ashwini and their team, thank you very much for a detailed presentation. Sapna, you can close.
Yes. So thank you very much, Ashwini, Sunil sir, Dinesh sir, and Raj. Thank you very much. So see you for the next webinar. It's coming on Friday. So thank you very much. Take care all. Bye.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.